Hey everyone, we're just going to talk about Chris Watts, so let's just get into it, okay? So he's been convicted. He was convicted in 19th November 2018, okay? And Megyn Kelly does a really great job. So up until this point, she's interviewing a behavioural analyst, Laura Richards, and Megyn's basically trying to find out what drives a person. How do you jump from normal, guy next door, Colorado, middle class family to heinous, horrific quadruple murder, if you include the baby, because Shanann was pregnant. But anyway, so Megyn's trying to find out, help me understand, help all of us understand. And this woman is not answering her question. This Laura Richard, in my opinion, is just not answering her questions, okay? So check it out. Okay, let's just get into it.
And then the wife comes back from the business trip at 2 a.m. She'd been with the girlfriends on a true business trip, comes back at 2 a.m. And what we know is now, because he ultimately confessed, he strangled her to death. They had a fight. They had some sort of an argument. He strangled her to death. He says he took his two daughters, who were alive in the back seat of the truck, over their dead mother's body, which was on the floor of the back seat, drove to the oil site.
Okay, I just want to pause there because the oil site was not around the corner. They had to drive a distance to get to the oil site, So there the kids sitting, the mom's wrapped up in a blanket, dead, lying on the truck, or whatever, and the kids are sitting there looking at this whole scene, And yeah, let's just get into it. So it's not around the corner.
Mothered his 3-year-old and his 5-year-old. The 5-year-old said, "Are you going to do to me what you just did to Cece, the 3-year-old?" And said, "Daddy, no. It's too horrific to even really conjure." And he did it anyway. He did it anyway. And then he disposed of the daughters' bodies in the oil tanks. Put one in one oil tank and one in the other. So gruesome he could even describe the sound of their little bodies hitting the liquid.
Okay, so I want to stop there because it's been since 2018, since he was convicted. I think he's got 3 life sentences and then a concurrent one for 2 years and another 40 years, something like that, right? Anyway, so what Megyn does not, she does a fantastic job, but what she fails to mention is how they were disposed of, and that is key, because that is where the really horrific stuff, we start getting into the weeds here, and we need to remember this. We need to remember what this dude has done, what the psycho has done, right? Because the hole, there's a top hole, there's 2 tanks, firstly, okay, and there's a top hole and there's a bottom hole, okay. The tanks are both full, so he would have had to, the bottom hole is smaller, and we're going to get to another clip now. The bottom hole is smaller, so allegedly, he's put them through on the bottom hole, which is bigger. Sorry, the bottom hole is bigger and the top one is smaller. Okay, I think it's 10 inches wide at the top. So there's different reports. We don't know. We think his records may have been sealed. But I do remember, I must just find that clip, of seeing a clip at the time when this happened of him squeezing Bella and Cece through the top chute, which is 10 inches wide. Anyway, they found tufts of hair. I'm going to switch to a clip now where they describe the top chute, and I'll show you a picture of the bottom chute. But it's, in my opinion, it's not possible because you have to transport you have to pump the oil from the one tank to another to lower it all the way to the bottom, so that if he does loosen the bottom chute, it doesn't gush all over him. And then we have to loosen all the screws. I'll show you a picture of that now. And he was not going to go through all that effort, The records have been sealed, I think, and he didn't want us to know. He doesn't want us to know exactly how gruesome. There's a lot of interviews, a lot of, videos out there on the interviews and post-prison and pre-prison, etc. But nothing really details exactly how he disposed of them, So in my opinion, he did push them through, shoved them through their little bodies, their little heads, shoved them through the top chute, okay? But anyway, let's just get into this other one now, okay? So listen to this one. This is where an engineer is being interviewed. It's a video done by Among the Damned.
If in fact the opening on the top, and again I'll hold it up, is too small for Chris Watts to, as he apparently, according to the police, admitted, too small for him to put those children through, he would have had to do it from the bottom, which means the tank would have had to be empty, or he'd have been gushed on by a full tank of oil. So you're saying that there's a pump that goes between those two tanks, and he could pump one tank empty and put the now there's the thief hatch, and you can, I think that's your hand, Wesley, correct? Right next to the thief hatch at the top.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get a relative
that's my
size.
hand to give you scale. Yeah.
And that's at the top.
Yeah,
this is an example tank that's similar.
Yeah, that's part of what kind of bent my brain is, I really don't think you could easily get anything, and it's designed that way for you to not drop anything through that top hatch. They keep it very small, so 8 inches is quite small. That's what made me think you pretty much have to take that bottom manway open.
Okay, so let's just have a look at the bottom manway. I mean, I'm not buying this guy's version. I mean, I'm not saying this guy's lying or anything, but this just seems like quite a reach, given that it's Chris Watts. So let's just go over to, hang on a second, I'll tell you now.
It's called the clean out manway. There it is. And you can see Wesley's hand. Now you can see the relative size of that opening and all those bolts that would have to be opened, unscrewed and screwed back on. And clearly it is at the bottom of the tank.
So these tanks were full. There is no ways this dude did all of this. There's no ways that he would then, unscrew all these bolts, firstly pump everything out, and then assuming that you'd have to have capacity in the other tank to put everything through. Okay, so the records were sealed. He didn't want this to get out in terms of how horrific it was. Okay, and I just really want to point out that you must bear in mind that up until the trial, we talk. I mean, this is a long time. He was blaming Shanann for killing Willa and Cece. He claimed that she killed them. She killed her 2 daughters. And only post that did he then confess that he actually killed Bella and Cece. Okay, so remember that. And only post the trial as well did he then give some details on how he disposed of them, but not really clarifying exactly what happened with the oil tanks. Okay, which I think is the big thing. But let's just get back to Laura Richards and Megyn Kelly, because I want to touch on, because she's really not answering the question. She then goes on. Check out the video on Megyn Kelly's show, right? Because she then goes on Laura Richards. Just cross over there, okay? Laura Richards and Megyn Kelly is trying to understand, how does this happen? What triggers you, etc., etc. And Laura Richards then goes on to talk about certain things, but she doesn't really. None of those things, in my opinion, are strong enough to help me understand how does someone jump from normal. Not that it's okay, but like normal society guy, okay, marriage in trouble, having an affair, to 4 murders, horrific murders. This guy has never been convicted, never had anything. So it's really interesting to understand, and people like myself that follow these kind of things find it fascinating. Okay, so I want to cross over to what she doesn't answer Megyn Kelly's question, but she does touch on 1 or 2 things that I think is important. Okay, so let's just go to this clip here. Where am I going to? Check it out. Okay, now she talks about a bit of the history with Shanann and Chris Watts.
With lupus, and she was heavily dependent on him. She thought he was her savior. And that's what she said. She couldn't have got by without him. So the relationship dynamic was very different. She was wholly dependent on him. They got married. She didn't know whether she could have children. And then by a miracle, because of lupus, she had 2 children, 2 girls. And then the relationship dynamic started to change. And she started to work more. And yes, they had debt. And that's another important point. But the dynamic shifted. And she was working. She was going out. She was no longer as dependent on him. And as you described, the dynamic shift, and that can happen in a relationship. He then starts this Thrive program, which is something that she's advocating for as well as part of her business. And
Okay, so she's not really answering the question. You know, it's interesting for us as men and women who are involved with people like Chris Watts, you know, that turn out to be like Chris Watts, to know that, you know, you put someone on a pedestal, you worship them in a relationship, you know, they're the savior, the rescuer, you know, you just got to be aware of yourself. You just got to like grow up, get to know your weaknesses and understand your triggers, because anyone can just come find you, you know, wherever you are, at a bar, at a party, here, there, etc., and pull your strings if you don't know yourself. So you need to find, you know, you need to spend time getting to know yourself, your weaknesses and your strengths, and working on yourself as a human being, because this could be any one of us. Okay, so this doesn't really answer the question, in my opinion. It does talk about a pattern amongst men and women when they get involved in relationships, and this godlike syndrome we put our partners on, or our kids on, or our parents on. You know, put anything on a pedestal, in my opinion, is not great. You can check out my my sister channel where I talk about the pedestal syndrome. You know, but anyway, the dynamic shifting, that I find really interesting, because when you see the dynamic shifting in a relationship, a lot of things can happen, you know, and that's just a function of growth in a relationship as a human being and two people being together. It doesn't answer Megyn Kelly's question about how does it go from there to stuffing them through chutes at an oil tank in the middle, in, you know, 5 a.m. or whatever, you know. And then the only time she does kind of like answer this question, I'll go to it now. What is this? Hang on a second. 8:36. Just jump to this timeline here. Okay.
Well, they tend to be very cool, calm, and collected, actually. Every case I've seen, when we've had even CCTV footage of them in the act, it's cool, calm, and collected. But where are you going wrong? I wouldn't say you're going wrong. You're interpreting what you're seeing, but my interpretation would be he's managing her. He's manipulating her. He's keeping her at arm's length, telling her what she needs to hear to get off his back, because he's cheating on her. He's going sand dune surfing with Nikki. He clearly wants to be with Nikki. He's telling Nikki that he's going to leave Shanann. Nikki suspects he's cheating on her.
Okay, I think she made a typo. I think she misspoke. It's more like Shanann was suspecting that Chris is cheating on her with someone who turned out to be Nikki, right? So we're going to get to Nikki in a minute. But this doesn't answer the question. Cool, calm, and collected. I mean, I'm cool, calm, and collected, and I'm crazy in other situations, and cool, calm, collected in other situations, you know. And I mean, I get her point in this Laura Richards' point in terms of in the act, she's seen it, and kudos to her, you know, with her background, she's seen it. It doesn't explain the question, though, that what got you there. Cool, calm, and collected in the act does not answer the question of what got you there, okay? The kids are sending videos, oh, I love my daddy's my hero, you know, they're having problems. How do you go from problems to disposing of everyone, you know, everyone in your family, okay? So we're going to get to this, Nikki, because that's the other point I want to make, and I want to appeal to Americans, okay? Because I'm not an American citizen, but I really want to appeal to Americans to really put pressure on the Colorado police and the investigative team and the prosecution in terms of why did this Nikki. Let's just switch over to Nikki so that we can all see and remember this woman, okay? You guys need to remember this woman because she has changed her name. She's a native Colorado girl, you know, changed her name, moved away, and that's her right, okay? Legally, she's entitled to do that. Is it illegal to have an affair with a married man? No, it's definitely not illegal, you know. Does she have a right to privacy? Absolutely. As a normal, legal, law-abiding citizen, she has a right to her privacy as does everybody else. Does she deserve to be scrutinized for this quadruple murder? Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you don't get to go into the police voluntarily, you know, to save face. Oh, hey, I'm the mistress. Oh, and by the way, here's my phone after I've allegedly wiped my phone clean. Okay. The cops do this interrogation with her. I mean, this chick's so brazen, you know. She just has gotten away completely completely free, no interrogation whatsoever, Shanann lookalike, basically, here's just a couple of pics of them, out doing their thing, while this guy goes and just gets rid of his fetus, his 3-year-old, pushes her through a chute oil tank, 5-year-old, after he strangles them one by one while the one watches. And Laura Richards believes that when he was strangling Shanann in the bedroom, the girls walked in, one of the girls walked in at least, and saw them. So no, you don't get to go and change your name and to think you can get away with things after this has happened. I mean, the very least, she should have been a person of interest. It was, I think, maybe just one interview, and then she was just, hey, cheers, here's my phone, bye, So that's my opinion of this this woman. We need to definitely just follow this up. I mean, you can't let anyone just get away like this. We have to follow this up. Did she plant the seed? Did she did they do enough forensics on her recovered phone? Did they scrutinize this enough, on the night that this happened and the weeks leading up to it, because she definitely had sway and definitely had power over him, So that is my opinion. That's my reaction, my opinion. Please just give me your comments below. And yeah, let's talk about it, because this cannot be forgotten, in the names of Bella and Cece and Shanann and the baby, the unborn baby who was apparently dispelled, when you were in the shallow grave, we cannot let this slide. Okay, so take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.